Hi everybody, this is Joy at Red Pine Quilt Shop. Today we are talking about directional textures, and I kind of distinguish directional fabrics and directional textures because I treat them differently. So we're going to start by taking a look at a fabric that I would consider a directional fabric, and it is this very definite black and red striped fabric. Very clearly a directional fabric, very strong, obvious directionality to it. And I would be cautious how I worked with this particular fabric. The next three fabrics are ones that I consider directional textures, and I do not feel that directional textures need to be treated as a directional fabric. If you look at all of these and you look at a big chunk like you see when you look at the side of a bolt like this, you do see that there's directionality to it, to the text, to the feather on this one. You know, it's running across the width of fabric. So I can't argue that there's not directional aspects to the prints on these three fabrics, but there are ones that once cut up, I don't think you need to be concerned with how they're being placed in your block. So let's start by taking a look at the red one. So I'm just going to flip a little more of this out. And again, now you're seeing a big expanse of it. But what does it look like when we cut it down to just what you would see in a block? So here is just a way to kind of simulate a block. So if you had those two pieces of red in the corner of a block and one got placed this way and one got placed this way, it would look like that. Now if you were looking at this from a distance, I don't think most people would even realize it, would not even notice it. Here is what it would look like if you had it kitty corner in the block with one going this way and one going the opposite way, you know, and that type of thing. Even though it's a linear, there's a linear aspect to this texture, once it's cut up into small pieces in a block, I don't think that you see it, and I would not be at all concerned about how I place those pieces in the block. Same thing with this one. It's kind of looks a little bit, gonna say newsprint, and that's maybe not the right term, but definitely, I guess this maybe it looks like, does it look like a punch card with numbers on it? Something kind of computery maybe. But look at that again. Does it, you know, once it's cut up into small pieces, you just see the texture. You don't hone in on the print. Even here when it's a very obvious number, you know, that you could say has a right side up and a wrong side and all that, it just will cut up fine into a quilt. Even here side by side, you know, once it's cut up into a block. So you always want to think about when you're selecting fabrics. I see a lot of customers in our shop that sometimes shy away from prints like this that have any directional aspect to them, and I think they're missing out on some great fabrics because they're shying away from those pieces. This beautiful feather, you know, once it's cut up into a block, you really don't see the directionality of that print at all once you cut it up and put it into a block. So don't be concerned about those fabrics that have some directional aspect to the texture, because once you cut them up and put them in a block, you will not see that like you see it when you're looking at a big expanse of the fabric. So I encourage everybody to try those pieces. When I'm putting them in my quilt, I intentionally let them land where they may. I don't try to line them up because I want some way and I want some going the other direction, and it will look fine when it is all together in a finished quilt. So I want to encourage you guys to try working with some of those textured fabrics, even if there is some directionality to the texture, because you really don't need to try to keep them all lined up. Making some viewfinders like the ones I was using today is a great way to audition fabrics. I encourage you to do that as well when you're working with a large focal print. It's a good way to make sure that that large focal print is going to cut nicely down to whatever size you're planning to cut it down, and it's a great way to do some auditioning on textures like this and be able to actually see what they will look like when you've cut them down to a smaller piece. So that's what we have for you guys today. Thanks for joining us.